Hello, welcome to this little series of Meet the AIM teachers. I'm excited to introduce the incredible teachers who will be guiding you through the new AIM 5-phase course structure. These dedicated professionals have a deep understanding of anatomy and motion and are ready to share their passion and knowledge to help you transform the way you approach human movement. So join me for a special series of interviews where we sit down with each of the AIM teachers to dive into their personal journey, teaching style, and what you can expect when learning from them. In this first interview, we're going to meet Monika Volkmar. She is teaching phase 1 in Canada next month, November 2024. So I'd love to get to know her story, discover what motivates her, and learn how she brings the AIM methodology to life in her own unique way. Whether you're new to AIM or continuing your journey, this conversation will give you a glimpse of the incredible learning experience ahead. Stay tuned for more interviews and get ready to connect with the teachers who will be helping you to find your center. So, hello, Monika.
Hello, Gary.
Thank you for doing this. I'm excited to introduce you to the AIM world. I know you've taught some courses before, but we're obviously on a rollout to introduce more courses and a whole new process, which everyone can read about on our website. But I wonder if we could start as a way of introducing yourself by telling us a little bit about your background, how you first became interested in movement and biomechanics.
Okay, so I don't have a very story. I was a dancer, or I was trying to be a professional dancer, and after trying very hard for 10 years, that failed as a result of many, many injuries. Lower back injuries, hamstring injuries, hip injuries, neck injuries, shoulder injuries, and etc. Wow. The only thing I didn't injure was my ankles, which is kind of unusual for a dancer. So I've never had ankle sprains, knock on wood. But because of that, I only really had one choice, which was two choices, I guess. I could ignore my body and go and do something else completely with my life, or I could go into it and try to understand why I became so injured and try to help myself get better. So I decided to do the latter. And I became a personal trainer and a Thai massage practitioner, and later on a craniosacral therapy practitioner. And on my quest for learning about the body, I encountered anatomy and motion in 2015. My first experience with it was with a practitioner here in Toronto who's a chiropractor, Brock Easter, who is actually now the owner of the facility where I'll be teaching in November. And I did one session with him in which he did a little bit of work with me, chiropractic stuff. And then he gave me one exercise from the anatomy and motion repertoire, which was the shift phase exercise. And I didn't know what it was at the time. I just knew that I couldn't really do it in my body, and I couldn't feel the things that he wanted me to feel. I couldn't get the load in the right tissue that he was trying to help me feel. But rather than feel hopeless about that, that was really inspiring to me. Like, wow, my body can't do this thing that it should be able to do. Let's figure it out. So I just got really curious about that one specific movement, shift phase. And then when Anatomy in Motion, the 6-day immersion course finally came to Toronto, I was all in, and it was great to put technical language and a bigger picture around that one phase exercise and learn all of the phases and learn all of the closed chain mechanics and have a actual picture of what I was trying to accomplish, and that definitely helped. Yeah. So I guess that's how I came to discover anatomy in motion.
I actually don't think I've heard that story before. Just in context for the listeners, the thing about being given a movement that you realized you couldn't do and getting excited about it is a bit strange. But in context,
I'm a bit strange.
Yeah, I think we all are. In the context of anatomy and motion, and respect to Brock, is using the assessment to uncover movements that we actually can't do so that we can relearn them. And often a large amount of these movements all accumulate in the same big movement. And that's when you really find an area that your brain struggles with, but you can introduce in order to be able to re-experience new movement in your body in this whole phase. So that's brilliant. As I said, didn't know that second part of the story. But it did make me think that I remember a particular conversation that you and I had on the third evening of the first course that you were on, where you kind of openly admitted that on day one you didn't even know what the talus bone was. You remember that or not?
Yeah.
So Can you give us an overview with that in mind of just how that first course impacted your approach to movement and therapy?
Yeah, at the time, I was so early on in my career path, and I feel pretty lucky that I found anatomy in motion only about maybe 2 years in
Yeah.
to my start point as a personal trainer. So I didn't have as much that I needed to unlearn, and I had not yet learned enough anatomy to even probably name a single bone in the foot, to be honest. It's just that the talus was the one that seemed the most important to understand, being the driver of the bus and whatnot.
That's funny.
Yeah.
And so how did that spur you on, would you say?
From the first course, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess
Part
I
of, the second part of this is that I returned home from Canada, got off the plane, landed in London, and as you do, kind of mindlessly open up social media, and there was a whole article written by you. And I remember having thinking, I've never seen anyone other than me write about anatomy and motion like you did. So immediately I was
Mm.
connected to you as a future potential, let's say. So I know that it impacted you in some way. I'm just wondering if you could put that into words.
Yeah, well, it was massively inspiring to me. I guess I felt, and I'm not the only one who felt this way, I'm sure, but I felt like I'd finally been shown a map to how to get my body back to a better way of moving, that it was complete and there was nothing that was left mysterious. I guess it was being a 6 day course where you look at the whole body and you look at the entire gait cycle. It was like, here's all the information you could ever need to help your body move as a more whole and complete unit. And it was right there. And I had the rest of my life ahead of me to explore it. So I felt pretty stoked about that. I knew I had a long way to go because the majority of that map, like 80% of it, was inaccessible to me and backwards, and just the years of dance training I did and who knows what else. We're making it very, not impossible, but felt almost impossible to do some of the movements as you described them. But I
Mm,
also knew from having witnessed some of the amazing changes people experienced in the classroom within minutes or within the course of the days, I knew that I could change things if I just kept looking at the next thing that can change, and then the next thing that could change, and then the next thing that can change. And it was just a matter of time before I started to feel better. And at that point in my life, I think my goal was just to be able to walk without any pain, because I was just every day experiencing SI joint pain, hip pain, back pain, and it was very distracting and very annoying. And I was very fixated on helping myself be without pain. And I guess now I'm a little bit more like, yeah, everyone has pain, but can I get it to a level where it's not the main focus of my life? I just want to live my life and not be hyper fixated on all the sensations of my body. So yeah, so it gave me a lot of hope. And it gave
do
me
you,
something to always keep working on.
amazing. Do you think that the learning came from a cognitive process or more of a practical process for you then?
It's a good question. I'm definitely a person who is wired to learn kinesthetically. So for me, it would have been almost impossible to have the same understanding and be able to use it practically with people and with myself if it wasn't for the focus on getting up and learning the movements in your body. And in fact, what excites me so much about the new course structure is that I think it'll really help people learn better. And what I mean by that is the way that I began my learning journey with anatomy in motion was, like I said, I started working on this movement that I had no anatomical lingo for. All I knew was that I had to make this shape with my body and feel this thing in my body, and then I'll know that I'm doing the correct movement. So I didn't know if I was supposed to be adducting or abducting or flexing or extending. I honestly, I didn't know the talus, but I also didn't know my three planes.
Yeah.
Never told you that one, but yeah, I didn't know anything. It was all new. So anyway, so having had that embodied learning experience and then later putting words to it, it just made it that much faster for me, I think, to pick up everything.
Yeah.
So what I'm really excited about for the new course structure is that that's kind of how it is now set up as an experience, is to learn more through your body first, and then once that is in you, your body won't forget it, your body will know it, and then it's just a matter of putting the technical terms to it, which then solidifies the learning. and then makes it easier to use with other people and to talk about with other people. Yeah.
Hence why the courses go from let the experience create the learning all the way through to the critical reasoning. So the critical reasoning and the clinical aspect comes later, once we have a real understanding of it in our body, and as you say, coloring it in really with the detail to understand the whole of the flow motion model. So let's move on to you as when you're working with students, as we know you've done before. What do you find most rewarding when working with students who are just beginning their movement journey?
I think what I've found most rewarding, and I'm thinking about the last course in Toronto, which was last September, we did the closed chain biomechanics 3-day course. And it was really great to see people actually describing to me what they were seeing and what they were going to do with it. That was really cool because I think with anatomy and motion in these courses, especially when you get to the level with all the descriptions of biomechanics in technical language, it's a lot of information and a lot of words. And I always have this fear that the words I'm saying don't make sense, and that people, not because of them, but because of me most of the time, that it just won't go into their brain and settle in a way that they can use it. So then in the course, when we always do little breakouts with partners and group exercises where you are challenged to use the material to assess and then to implement it with a partner to see if you can make change in how someone's moving. And it's so rewarding to see that people can describe, for example, the position of the talus is like this, and I'm seeing this happening in the rear foot. And they go from a place of me talking at them and I'm seeing some faces that are a little bit like, I don't know if they're getting it. I don't know if it's going in. Oh no, oh no. And then I can see them actually use it and get good results in the classroom. That's really cool. That's really nice to see. It gives me hope that they'll go into their practice and be able to use it with their actual clients and patients. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And
And that's more like, for me, it just suits my insecurity around actually being able to teach the material. So yeah, rewarding to see, and also makes me feel better about myself.
Translated that faith that you just mentioned to one of focus and concentration rather than one of and confusion.
Exactly.
Trying
Yeah.
really hard to latch onto everything you say, which is beautiful in itself. Can you share a success story where AIM has had a transformative impact on someone's movement or life?
Yeah, I'll tell something that I was just working with a client online actually 2 days ago because it's most fresh
Wow.
in my mind. And we had
Yeah.
a little conversation that I thought she thought she was a failure, and I thought that's actually a success story. And her, I've been working with her for context for a little over a year online on some foot pain and knee pain and some other various pains, but mainly the foot and the knee pain. And she's a dancer as well, very aware of her body. And so I've been seeing her weekly for a while. And she's very diligent with her daily movement practice that helps her feel good. That's based on stuff we've explored together in the anatomy and motion coursework. And a couple of days ago, she said to me, "Oh, I've been a bad student because for the past couple of weeks, I haven't been doing any of my movement homework. I've just been living my life." And I'm like, that's not bad. You've been living your life. Like, isn't it great that you haven't had to rely on your movement practice to get through the day? You've been able to forget about it and just trust that your body now has the unconscious mechanics. You can just live your life. Wasn't that the goal in the first place? I don't think the goal of having this movement practice or having this information is to have to do it every day and occupy hours of your life. Yeah. So for me, that was just such a nice thing to hear because it shows that she's put in the work. She's been able to change significantly how she's moving, that she doesn't have the daily pain she had to the degree where she felt like she couldn't go out and do anything without having to fix herself and correct all her movements first. And I think that's the beauty of this work too, is that like the fifth big rule of movement is the body is hardwired for perfection, is that if you do feed in the movements to it and your body recognizes them or your system recognizes them as useful and efficient, it will change. It's only a matter of time. And she put in the work. So she was able to experience that for herself and almost under the radar didn't even realize that, oh yeah, you're right. Yeah. So I thought that was really lovely. And we didn't do anything that unique or special. We just were looking at what can your body do and not do, what's missing, and can we very mindfully and intentionally guide you through some movements. The only real movements we ever really do are the ones that we'll explore in the P1 course, which anyone who
P1,
takes it will
absolutely.
find out. There's not that much to do. It's just a matter of finding the way that works for you and that creates change for your system. Yeah.
I think that's worth underlining, actually, Monica, that when people aren't coming onto this course to understand hundreds and hundreds of different miraculous exercises. I said in What the Foot in 2013 that there are 5 or 6 exercises that we live on the whole time, and it's the detail and the color of those things and understanding how to work with them in order to help somebody reorganize their own body is the magic. So you and I, we've been working with the same movements for many, many, many years, never looking for anything else, but just knowing that there's a full whole body understanding written into each one of them. And that's really one of the things I always try to convey to people who are interested in coming on the courses. So there's a beauty in it that what we're learning is it can be contained into very small elements. I always say there's only 8 body shapes, 2 pronating leg, two leg shapes, a pronating and a supinating, 2 arm shapes, pronating and a supinating, and then just how we manage all of that will simply come up in our postural problems, and also for us create solutions. So with that in mind, what advice would you give to students who are thinking about joining the new course structure?
I think it's advice that has already been mentioned, but to make sure that you get up and learn it in your body and don't simply rely on the intellectual learning aspect of it, even if you're learning online, which makes it a lot easier just to sit at your computer and hear
Watch.
the information and look at it and watch it. Definitely get up and move your body, because I don't think we truly know what these movements are until our system has experienced them. And
100%.
I think you can know the movement. I would trust that someone knows what they're talking about more and knows the movement more if they can show it versus if they can say it. So there's a lot
Absolutely.
of students that I think we've seen in classrooms over the years that are very, very intelligent, way smarter than me, and know a lot more about helping bodies and anatomy than me, but really struggle to move in a very simple way, struggle to know what a pelvis hike feels like, a hip adduction, abduction. And I
Yeah.
think the more clear we are in our own bodies, this isn't anything new, but I think the more clear you are in your own body, the better equipped you are to understand movement in other people's bodies with less noise, and not just to help other people, but to help yourself. So I would say definitely get up and do everything in your body. Make sure you can put words to movements and movements to words.
Yeah. I love that. I think that's so important. And just also want to stress that I think these movements really help anybody, even if they believe that they truly know their anatomy. Often they have an inability to access it. And that's where people really light up on this course, is being able to really feel what these movements are in their body and feel how their muscles are supposed to respond to these movements in the body, and then feel the changes. And I'd love for people to be experiencing changes right from the beginning through the whole journey on this course. We start with ourselves, and as you say, towards the end of the program, we'll be getting into a place where we're actually able to teach people how to apply it with their clients. So you can use it with your clients from day one, but essentially the model goes deeper and deeper and deeper and more profound the further we go through the process. So I think that's beautiful advice, to start with yourself and then to move on with other people. And I love that what I hear in your message is that we can really learn our anatomy. I learnt my anatomy from the flow motion model, which is quite crazy. And I still believe that really helps people to do that as well. It sounds like you did as well in some way. So I think we should close off. And so I'm going to ask you what the most important takeaway that you would like students to gain from the classrooms that you teach. And you may have already said it.
Gosh, most important takeaway. Yeah, I guess most important would be, I think it would be lovely if everyone left the classroom inspired like I was to continue to explore, and that their curiosity has been piqued, and that they can see that with this model, that really the educational journey is endless,
Yes.
because that's really one thing that I've loved about learning this work. So yeah, the fun never
Awesome.
ends. It just gets started when the course finishes.
And I was just going to say, and it's at the same time, it's just beginning. So that for me
Yeah.
is the perfect way to close. Well, thank you very much, Monica. I didn't want this to drag on forever and ever, but I think I'm certainly inspired to have you on my teaching team. I know that you're going to do an amazing job. I love that you've gone from not knowing what the talus is to standing in front of our classrooms, and I'm looking forward to our conversations and feedbacks post courses and a long working relationship. So thank you very much for your time today. And I know that you're currently in Australia and will be flying back to Canada soon. So safe journey back and good luck for the course in November next month.
Thank you so much.